everybody today. Man, what an incredibly nice Saturday, Valentine's Day 2026. Welcome to the next crossing. Good to see everybody. Thanks for being on. We are going to give it a shot and try and catch CSX 1875 because they normally recrew right behind us. So if everything goes right, we're going to see them stop P&LE short of the crossing where normally that train would recrew. P&LE is on I-155 today on its way to Memphis. We're across the road. We're here at the old Wauhatchie Pike crossing out in Lookout Valley on the west side of Chattanooga as all the train action goes around Lookout Mountain behind me and either comes across the AGS line down below or the Chattanooga joint line up above where BNSF, CSX, and NS will all run this point. So we do have a yellow, so we've got amber behind us already on an inbound traffic. Got the scanner on, you'll hear the yard. We'll do a pan to the area. We're outside of a smelter, so you're getting a little bit of that noise from the smelter. But like I said, we're going to start out today with the hopes that we catch the P&LE doing a recrew, so they'll do a slow ride right past us. Welcome everybody. Don't forget, if it's your first time, please subscribe. And thumbs up helps the channel, as you all know. If you were with us last night or yesterday afternoon, whoa, what a good time, thanks to you guys. Massive amount of chat, all kinds of energy and action. And I think, depending on the timing, because it is Valentine's Day, depending on the timing, after we catch the P&LE, we may go down to the south end for a little bit. Also, my friend Drayton is up at the cliff today with Delay and Block. Make sure you check out his channel. Drayton is some great people. Down below, like I said, is the NS line down to Birmingham. So Aiden and everybody, if you're on down there, hello from Chattanooga. And if anybody knows our inbound train, shout it out. Be part of the fun. Be part of the action. Let us know. Are you trackside? Where are you on from? Let's have a good time today on the show. Like I said, the goal is to catch the recrew of the P&LE, which normally occurs up here. So, Lucas, if you're on, we're going to follow your idea, see if it works, see if we can catch him doing the recrew. And like I said, you're going to hear locomotive noises. There's one moving over in the CSX yard right now. look over at the CSX Wauhatchie Yard. Normally we can't see it, but since we're still in winter and the groundhog saw his shadow, we have no leaves yet. Up across the top, Lookout Mountain. Here on the west brow, where across the top, there are some just absolutely incredibly beautiful, gorgeous, I'll say houses, but they're more like mansions if you drive the road up there. If Kid is on, he'll tell you this is his old stomping grounds. Point Park, Ruby Falls, and Rock City, all up there. I've got a couple things to do to finish getting ready, including getting the earmuffs out, because the last thing I want to do at this crossing is go home and be unable to hear. And let me tell you, they blast loud and long here. check, 17 miles an hour as the EOT goes past us. Disappearing with that coal drag on its way towards Chattanooga. We got to see the signal drop as he went past. Anybody know that train number? Share it with us. And he is going southbound past the CSX Wauhatchie Yard through Lookout Valley. He'll go around Lookout Mountain for those of you familiar with the area. He'll go over there along 24. He'll cross over the Diamond at 23rd Street in Chattanooga. He'll go past Coffey's Cliff, where you'll see him again on Delay and Block with Drayton. Great channel. He's live over there today, I've heard. And then on down to my town, Ringgold, and then you guys will see him again in Dalton and the Bird Cam on the way over at the 122.8. He still hasn't gotten around the corner, but he's almost gone. I want to thank everybody for being on today. Again, thumbs up. It helps the channel. If y'all were on with me last night, we had a record show. Thank you, everybody, for that. Where we caught 1231, the OCS paint scheme, on the Atlanta, coming in on train 123 last night before he went to the fuel racks. goal is to find the P&LE on his way to Memphis. And normally, 155 changes crews short of this crossing. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We are on the Chattanooga joint line. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Or Chattanooga subline. Everybody has a different name for it. But at this point, it is CSX tracks where NS, CSX, BNSF all travel across this track. Whoa, somebody's got this sports car out with the T-tops off. So y'all make yourself at home. Thanks for being on the channel. I'll chat with you there.
43rd Street, Commissioner Reverse OCP.
Don't know if we can see him or not, but our coal drag is just
CT to 20, you were calling over?
around that corner.
Alright. Signal indication, I have this 17 about to cross over there and exit my house. If you want, got a north over.
I'll see if we can see him for you. If you look carefully between the two signals, he's right in there in the middle. That wind's a little brisk today. Wants to blow the camera system. Hello, Mama Bear. Good to see ya. You making pizzas today? Well, I guess if you just got home, you've been making pizzas today. And you're right, Mark. If the ladies of the house are happy, your home will be a much better spot. You are looking at the signals that go into Chattanooga. And our inbound CSX train is currently stopped right up there on the bend. And our NS train that just went south. Now down in Trenton was NS 179. Thanks for that, Lucas. So 179 on its way south going through Trenton. And I understand we have 345 on his way towards us with double UP locomotives on it. Anybody knows where the P&LE is? Shout it out. Don't be bashful. Mark, thanks for the chat. Looks like you're number one on the chat list today. Mama Bear, I'll bet you're tired. A slow peaks a day on a Saturday. What's up with that? Looks like 345 is on its way. Sorry, they're doing a little adjustment. All right, southbound on the AGS coming up. And yes, happy Valentine's to everyone. No, we're not going out either. Mrs. S is going to make a special dinner for something that she has been checking out online. So let's get ready. We've got NS action coming our way.
right, everything's lined up, everybody's clear. Back to the country. Back.
Chattanooga Subline, AGS Chattanooga Terminal, all in this section behind me. We have an NS train down around the corner on the lower side, but there are crossover points. But he is is facing south. Not sure what he's waiting on, but we are waiting on the P&LE coming our way on the way to Memphis. And if we play our cards right, he will change crews just short of this crossing. So we're going to keep an eye open on that. There goes Mercury Cab. Just came out of the CSX Yard, so a crew on their way to somewhere. Gonna guess that they're short on crew run cars today. Just looking to see if anything's moving over in the CSX Yard. Train from earlier is still sitting way down there. Hello, Lucas. Welcome on today. Good to see you, sir. And that is looking back towards Chattanooga. So, Stevie, it's Mike that you have out trackside today. Casey's back at the studio. Don't forget, thumbs up, we appreciate it. It also helps the algorithm with YouTube, promote the channel to others. Just took a look around the corner. Down on the lower side, there is an NS train sitting there with his lights on, facing southbound. So don't know if they're going to bring him up here on the Chattanooga Sub, or if it's something that's going down the AGS. Not sure what train that is, so if anybody knows what train we've got holding behind us on my left shoulder, about 5-6 blocks down, just short of the switch, shout it out, let us know. Anybody know where the P&LE is? We are waiting for him. This is a crew change spot normally that he would use here just short of the crossing, so we're hoping to catch him. And Lucas, it looks like I saw a note that the Reading is coming up the AGS line later. Not much moving over in the CSX yard today here in Wauhatchie. And for those of you wondering what's a Wauhatchie, it's an old Indian name, W-A-U-H-A-T-C-H-I-E, Wauhatchie. And this is the old Wauhatchie Pike Crossing. A lot of industry down that way. Good to see y'all, but just wanted to give you an update. Our NS train on the other side sitting there. So my guess is he's waiting for something to come before he can get released to come this way. So we're going to keep an eye on it. Like I said, anybody, if you know where the P&LE is, let us know. I haven't seen him pull in the yard, so let's hope we get to see him today. And away from forward air. There's a nice car. I put the monitor back up. Lucas, the lead locomotive is Whiskers. So the lead locomotive on the train that's facing us is a pair of whiskers on the front. There goes the Halcon crew car from CSX Yard. They're equivalent to the PTI for NS. I see an auto rack train over in the CSX yard. A train can pass through the CSX yard here and bypass the spot where we are. Lucas, correct me if I'm wrong, but our P&LE is on an intermodal, which on my way here earlier, there was an intermodal sitting over by the foot of Lookout Mountain. That's a relatively long yard, so they do a lot of switching there. But if anybody has eyes on, or let us know if you have eyes on the P&LE. Our coal train that went by earlier is still sitting just barely out of sight, headed back in towards Chattanooga. It's a Saturday, there is a lot of truck traffic going down to the warehouses there, down on Old Wauhatchie Pike.
NC&StL over. 143 over. 23, go ahead.
As Norfolk Southern, CT, speaking. That's Kim, I do believe. A little bit about the CSX Wauhatchie Yard, and again, Wauhatchie is an old Indian name, and if you're trying to look it up on Google Maps, it's Wauhatchie, now a modern day freight yard at the south end of the Chattanooga corridor for the rail lines, historic lines that used to run through here and still do. Lots and lots of railroad history here at the foot of Lookout Mountain in an area known as Lookout Valley. Beautiful view of the mountain today. Going back to the beginning, the Yard 6 on a former Nashville and Chattanooga Railroad, which later became the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railroad, all the way back to the charter in 1845. And it connected, you guessed it, Nashville to Chattanooga with service that started in 1854. That is a long time ago. Hey, you two! You'll never guess who's here. Jesse's here. Y'all sit tight for just a moment. everybody. We got a little update. Y'all know Jesse with Whistleboard Productions. It appears our NS train and everything else on the AGS is currently stopped because the locomotive that we saw, or the train that we saw, I should say, was 142 going south, has gone into emergency down in Valley Head. So the AGS line is currently come to a stop. Where most of you, or probably all of you, are aware, later today, the Penn Central and the Reading are literally following each other out of Birmingham, coming up this way. P&LE sitting in Chattanooga. Don't know if he's blocked and can't get here. On his way to Memphis. And the Clinchfield is on his way coming south and is already past Cowan. So, not sure of our timing because Mrs. S is making dinner. We may or may not see some of the different things that are coming. Still waiting to see P&LE. If they're short on crew time, they may change crews down at Lookout. We'll just have to kind of see how this plays out. But right now, the AGS line is tied up due to 142 in emergency. Now, in the meantime, we just went amber here on the inbound signals. So let's kind of listen to the scanner. I was talking about the history on the AGS and the CSX. All right, and Lucas, correct me, 142 is a northbound. And that is the train in an emergency down at Valley Head. So Lucas, thanks for that update on 142. There's our amber. Anybody trackside, please let us know where you are. Let's kind of listen to the scanner here for a little bit and see what we can pick up on this traffic as Lucas keeps us updated. Thank you, Lucas. Keeps us updated on some of the things that are going on here in the area. And then we'll go back and talk about the Wauhatchie Yard a little bit more when it became the NC in St. Louis and the L&N days. But right now, let's listen to the scanner, watch these signals, and hear what's going on.
Y'all good trip. Let's go. I counted down. it's been holding the iron, laying itself down. I don't made a doubt in my mind.
Well, Lucas, if you're still on with me, it looks like the P&LE is going to sneak by us today because there's an intermodal moving through the yard currently over on the far side, which would be the area of the pass-through track. So it looks like the P&LE is sneaking by us for the crew change. I like that response. Oh no! But yeah, over there on the far side goes a container train, and that is probably him. I-155 sneaking through the yard. those of you in Bridgeport or Nick and Jack, New Hope, you guys get ready. The P&LE I-155 has snuck past us, scooted into the yard, and will go out the other end. Now, I don't know if it's because there's a log jam that he couldn't get up on the joint line. But it looks as he's going to not be on the Chattanooga sub for CSXT. He's going to go out the other end and then hop on it there.
46314 SC. 463 left. I got a lead engine 2811. RX from on the copy. It's a 146. I'd get the OJT territory. Please do not speak on the line. What's your ground location over? 00J 146.0.
So, given all the information that we have from Lucas and Jesse and everybody, we know we have an inbound train here. Our previous or earlier CSX coal train still sitting down there, so it looks like we have a log jam. So as y'all just saw Lucas's note, the P&LE will not switch crews here with us. So what we'll probably do is catch our inbound train here and go to the south end, where we had a phenomenally fun time last night, catching 1231 coming into town. Lucas, Aiden, and everybody are waiting on the Penn Central coming north and the Reading coming north today. But that time's going to be unknown because of 142 in emergency on the AGS line.
Same time.
Again, Lucas, thank you for all your information.
Coupled up here, we'll be ready to go.
Nate, everybody, thanks for being on. Like I said, we're going to stay here and catch one more, since we do have an ambulance. And then we'll probably move, since they have 142 clogging up things, we'll probably move to the south end, see what's going on there before we have Valentine's dinner with Mrs. S. believe it or not, our coal train is still sitting down there that we saw earlier. Is EOT blinking. Our NS train still sitting around the corner. Looks like another train moving. They're doing some switching. I can't quite tell. That's all the way over on the pass through. But we were talking about the CSX yard here. CSX Wauhatchie, for those of you who just jumped on. It looks like, if I'm reading your notes right, Lucas, I believe you're telling me that things are rolling on the AGS line, if I'm reading correctly. And yeah, Lucas, I might need one of those indigestion pills too for missing the P&LE as he scooted through over there. And thanks for matching up the containers to confirm that. As you can all, if you're not reading the chat, and again, a special thanks to Lucas for keeping us kind of updated. 1:30 just now past Atala coming north, and defect detector 141 just went. So that is an NS train that's coming our way. And back to the CSX yard where we were talking, that site is the former Nashville and Chattanooga Railroad location, which later became the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis location, which connected Nashville and Chattanooga. And now you wouldn't believe it, but I have raindrops. Uh-oh. We'll just kind of see what's next. So, going back after the war, the NC and St. Louis and the L&N time periods, the Nashville and Chattanooga evolved into the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railway, which operated into Chattanooga along the Tennessee River Valley and around Lookout Mountain, like we were talking earlier, which they still do today. And then the merger occurred in 1957 when the Louisville and Nashville Railroad system merged with NC and St. Louis and became one. And that included the yard that you see located over there. Boy, has it gotten cool quick. Oh my goodness. And the Wauhatchie Yard that you're looking at functions as a classification and staging yard for CSX Chattanooga area operations, and they handle the traffic moving between Nashville and Atlanta on the W&A sub. So the W&A sub ends there at Wauhatchie. And the bird cam is on the W&A sub, as you know, and we spend a lot of time down in Dalton, as you know, there on the W&A. Plus, the W&A goes by my house. And yes, that is the route that the great locomotive chase took. CSX 142 was an emergency down on the AGS. We got a little bit of time left yet this afternoon. Since the P&LE went through the backside, we are going to go ahead and see if we can move on down to the south end of the debug yard where we were last night. Whether or not we're train blocked there will determine if we go live there. If not, it's Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Thanks for all the thumbs, we appreciate it. If it's your first time on, please make sure you subscribe, it helps the channel. And everyone, make sure you do something special for the one you love today here on Valentine's Day 2026. So everybody, I will see you, you're right, at the next crossing, and that may be the south end, depending on the weather when we get there, and whether or not, because of those of you that have been there before, sometimes that end of the yard